Standing at a dizzying height, why do we feel the urge to jump off? Don't rush to look at that massive 300-story high cliff yet. That tiny red dot hanging there is the madman named Alex Honnold. He has no safety ropes and certainly no way to retreat from here. His life currently depends entirely on just a few of his fingers, desperately gripping into a rock crevice less than a centimeter wide. That thickness is even narrower than the edge of your door frame. Beneath his feet lies 900 meters of absolute terrifying void. Even a gentle breeze or a startled bird could disturb his balance. 10 seconds later, just a pile of flesh at the bottom of the valley. Just seeing that image, a normal person's brain screams a warning. It might even create the terrifying illusion of wanting to jump down, using extreme fear to force your body to immediately retreat back. But looking at the lens, Alex actually reveals a faint, calm smile. Facing this deadly threat, has this human had fear surgically removed? To answer this, we must turn the clock back 140 years. See how humans stepped into the death zone, step by dangerous step, using violence to modify our physiological hardware and software. Only then did we finally stand here conquering the impossible peaks. Humans are inherently ground creatures, meant for the Earth's surface. Our blood and hearts were designed for one standard atmosphere level. Before the 19th century, we thought only gravity stopped us rising. Blocking us from God's abode was seemingly only the force of gravity. In 1875, 3 French explorers took a hot air balloon to the skies. They recklessly rushed towards 8,600 meters high. They thought courage could conquer all, ignoring the invisible killer. They did not know that hypoxia had already choked their throats tight. As it climbed, 2 collapsed in the basket, convulsing until death. The only survivor, Tissandier, drifted between death and deep coma. Finally, like a rag doll, he crashed to the ground with the corpses. That day, humanity traded life for a physiological law of the skies. High altitude is not just cold. Thin air starves tissues and kills. To survive high up, humans must cheat, bring oxygen or mutate bodies. Early 20th century, Everest became the altar to test these 2 paths. 1921 to 1924, Mallory led the British expedition to near 9,000 meters. They used their bodies as test subjects, testing if the human brain could still remain awake at that altitude. In 1922, they first tried portable oxygen, and results were immediate. Unassisted climbers walked like drunks, eyes unfocused and vacant. The oxygen team rushed up to 8,300 meters high. Oxygen seemed to buy height, but nature immediately demanded a price. A massive avalanche instantly swallowed 7 Sherpas in the snow. 2 years later, Mallory climbed again, carrying heavy oxygen gear. He disappeared into the clouds leading to the summit, never returning. 75 years later, they found his remains on the slope at 150 feet, clothing tattered, yet his head was still facing toward the summit. Did they actually touch the top? No one knows the answer to that. Mallory used his life to leave a huge question mark for those later. Where exactly is the limit of human height drawn on these mountains? As the white snow peaks buried more and more corpses over the years. Finally, in 1953, Hillary and Tenzing Norgay stood on the summit top. The world confirmed, with oxygen, humans can stand at 9,000 meters. But human pride does not allow us to stop at just using oxygen tanks. 1978, Reinhold Messner thought using oxygen was blasphemy to climbing. He made a crazy decision: challenge Everest without oxygen bottles. Doctors asserted this wasn't a challenge, but rather certain suicide. At that height, even if you return, your brain turns into mush paste. But he still went. In the final few hundred meters, they crawled up, crawling slowly on the snow slope, collapsing every few steps taken. Then using willpower to pull himself up from the snow one more time. He felt his body being torn apart, his mind seemingly peeled away, leaving only a gasping lung. But amazingly, they succeeded in the end. This feat forced textbooks to rewrite the limits of human survival. Humans, after extreme domestication, can survive in the death zone. However, scientists found that fair competition here is a genetic lie. Westerners gasp for air, while Sherpas treat this like a back garden. Research shows Sherpas have a gene variant called EPAS1, a rare gift. Normal bodies make too many red blood cells, turning blood to sludge. This makes the blood viscous, easily causing thrombosis and failure. But the Sherpa gene stops this overreaction, keeping blood very thin. It lets mitochondria efficiently squeeze every oxygen molecule dry. They commute between 5,000 and 8,000 meters dozens of times a season, carrying oxygen and opening paths for climbers from around the world. In Western climbing stories, their names are often just footnotes. This is an evolutionary cheat code taking thousands of years to get. Humans spent ages rewriting genes, but suffocation is just hardware. When we bargain with air, the next level opponent surfaces: software. That is the program written deep in the brain. The feeling of fear. Lenz returns to that 900-meter wall. Many ask, is he missing a screw? Is a piece of his brain missing? Scientists obviously wanted to know. In 2016, they pushed Alex into an fMRI scanner to see his reactions. He viewed a series of extremely bloody and dangerous images in there. A normal amygdala, the fear center, explodes like fireworks at this. But in Alex's brain, this area was almost completely silent and calm. It was so quiet that researchers thought the machine was broken down. Does this mean he has no fear? No, they found another clue entirely. His fear threshold is high, with powerful prefrontal regulation. Alex is not fearless. He forcibly rewrote his brain's reaction code. For this climb, he prepared for 8 years, memorizing every hold. Thousands of repetitions moved actions from thinking to automatic. This is extreme system desensitization through controlled danger. He tells his brain, if every step is calculated, death will not come. Unleashing the rope, fear didn't vanish, but became a quiet stream, suppressed under massive focus. When skill masters risk, flow appears. In flow, the world mutes. Time vanishes. No past, no future, only the rock here and now, and this single breath remains relevant. This is why extreme sports are becoming salvation in urban gyms now. On that wall, phones off, disconnected, humans detach from society, returning to simple living, breathing, gripping, and finding balance. From high-altitude suffocation to cliff fear, the Creator says, stop. But we are human because we refuse to listen to those warning signs. Mallory asked why he climbs, left the line. Because it is there. If we add a footnote, humans are born to look up at the heights. Gravity is law, fear is instinct, but humans are destined to walk, looking up at that impossible height, saying upwards and up again.